China is rolling out some news in the automotive sector. The first one is concerning FCVs, the second one is about ICVs. But first let's discuss about what those two things are. FCVs are a type of clean vehicle which use hydrogen and combine it with the oxygen in air to power itself. As a very clean type of vehicle, these FCVs are particularly interesting for indoors use. They don't produce any emission besides water and heat. But they don't come without disadvantages. So while FCVs are far from perfect and they still need a lot of development, they still have some kind of niche where they can be quite useful. For example, as forklifts inside the warehouses where you are inside closed doors and you have no chance to use those diesel forklifts, because if you have ever been in a warehouse where diesel forklifts are being used, trust me, it's a terrible experience. Especially for people who work there every day, it's really terrible for their own health. This technology has been also applied to commercial vehicles, but there aren't too many going around. For example, by the end of 2020, the total amount was about 30,000 and 2/3 of these vehicles were circulating either in Korea or in the United States. Japan and China also have some interesting quantity, but as you may understand, it's kind of a very, very, very small niche. Now, there are two big problems about those vehicles. The first one is the infrastructure, because as long as there is not enough location where you can charge these vehicles with the correct fuel, people will not make the step forward from the old combustion engine to the new hydrogen. Just like they don't do it with the EV until there is a decent infrastructure to do so. The second problem is due to the economy of scale. As long as the production of vehicles is so small, it is relatively much more expensive and people will not buy those vehicles for their own use. At the same time, this doesn't bring the demand up enough for the industry to come up with ideas to cut the supply costs. Just like with electrical vehicles a few years ago, the problem is pretty much the same. At the same time, people may think, why should we focus on hydrogen vehicles when we have electrical vehicles already in a much more better stage? Well, the thing is, electric vehicles are not necessarily better than the hydrogen vehicles because it depends on the situation. Now, hydrogen is much more interesting for certain reason, but it has also a lot of disadvantages. One of the main disadvantages of a hydrogen vehicle is the fuel consumption efficiency is much more lower than an electric vehicle. While one of the advantages they have is the charging time, because hydrogen can be directly loaded just like normal fuel. While for electric vehicles you will have to charge the battery, which takes several hours. While EVs are getting more popular and convenient as commercial cars, that doesn't mean for industrial use they are getting too much advantage compared with fuel cell. For example, we have producers of buses in Italy and Poland such as Iveco and Ursus, but we also have producers of trucks and industrial vehicles. But let's go to what is the news I want to talk with you about today. Shanghai government announced on the 3rd of November that there will be a new policy about FCVs. This policy basically is supporting in several different points the development of a FCV compliant industry and infrastructure. First of all, policy will last from the 1st of December of this year till the end of December of 2025. And it is compliant with the 14th five-year plan and also with a more general strategic policy of Chinese government into the development of better automotive solutions to reach lower emissions and in general a better standard of quality. One of the big actors involved is actually Lingang area government. Now, Lingang is a port area in the Pudongyu area district, which is specifically interesting for various reasons. I'm going to explain them on the way. First of all, Lingang is just next to the port of Shanghai and it has lots of warehouses where all the products are stored before being exported, which means there is a huge necessity of fuel cell forklifts, for example, or electric forklifts, because there are a lot of warehouses still using the diesel one. The other thing is that in Lingang area there is the huge gigafactory of Tesla, which was actually made also with the help and the compliance of the Shanghai government and with the financial help of some banks in China. For FCV manufacturers, the support of the government will be about 200,000 yuan per reward point. These reward points are of course depending on standards set by the government for specific tasks. For example, for producers of key components, it's 30,000 yuan per point. Among the key components, we have air compressors, valves to store hydrogen, and PEMs. Another part of the investment would be related to the fuel station for hydrogen. 30% of the investment will be taken care by the Shanghai government as long as the main requirements are taken care of. One of those main requirements, for example, is a 70 MPa minimum pressure. Another thing would be the subsidies to the hydrogen purchasing. The government will actually sponsor anybody who is going to get a price under 35 yuan per kilo. And at the beginning of the plan, it will be a big subsidy of about 20 yuan per kilo, but by the end of the project, so 2024-2025, the subsidy will decline to 10 yuan per kilo. Now let's move to ICV. ICV are Intelligent Connected Vehicles. This is an acronym that it's mostly used by Chinese. It refers to all those kind of vehicles which have actuators and sensors and all kind of technology in order to detect and take decisions, as well as internet connection. An example could be a robotaxi. So those kind of vehicles are classified in different levels of complexity and the responsibility they can take off the shoulders of the driver. So at the most low level, we will have something like in case there is a car crash, the car can call an SOS. And on the most high level, we will have a car that completely can drive on its own without the presence of people inside. In order to speed up and to control the development of those technologies, Lingang area has planned to make specific development in this direction.